Hello and welcome to episode 356 of Retro Encounter, RPG Fans Weekly podcast of many topics. I'm Mike Sollosi, and here on the crew of the good ship Retroglinda, I have three other crew members. Who are they? Let's start with Zach Wilkerson.
Hello.
And Peter Triezenberg.
Hello.
And Tyler Trosper.
Hey.
Zach, Peter, Tyler, we are here to discuss a very cult hit science fiction RPG from the early aughts, Xenosaga Episode 1, Der Wille zur Macht. And that title comes from Nietzsche, but this game itself comes from the fertile imagination of Tetsuya Takahashi, the formerly of Square, who worked on several Final Fantasy games and was the main architect behind Xenogears. After Xenogears sort of didn't have the budget expectation that he wanted with as part of Square, he founded his own studio, Monolith Soft, where they made the Xenosaga trilogy, then a couple sort of more in-between or indie games, and are currently ruling over a Xenoblade empire of sorts. And that is the short version of the studio that gave us the Xenosaga trilogy on PS2. But Peter, Tyler, Zach, let's talk about our individual histories with each of these games. And I'm going to go with the big hitter right from the beginning. Tyler, please pop off about games that start with XENO for as long as you prefer.
Okay, well, long ago, back in the year 2003, I was looking forward to a game called Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness. But while I was waiting for that, I know, right? So while I was waiting for that, I needed something to kill time. So then I found Xenosaga in a issue of it was official PlayStation magazine. I was like, oh, this looks pretty good to pass the time. Lo and behold, becomes my favorite game of all time, and Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness was crap. Just utter crap.
This is like going into a theater for a viewing of Sucker Punch and then being intrigued by the trailer for Mad Max Fury Road at the beginning.
That's a true fact.
That is an unlikely comparison, but I'll take it.
That is, spot on.
But Tyler, maybe I'm being a little bit unfair here, but you are well known among staff for being a devotee of the Xeno games, and were probably the most excited person among staff when we ultimately decided that Xenosaga was going to be the game that we cover for December.
Gosh, yes.
But I mean, you did sort of discover it by chance in 2003. But you're a big appreciator of the entire series before and after 2003.
Yes, because after that, I've been part of like message boards and different fan projects.
Tyler, you were the exact first person that came to mind as to who needed to be on this panel before we started recording this. But you and I aren't the only two here. Zach, how far back do you go with the Xeno games?
Pretty far, probably further than Tyler, actually. But I want to point out that Tyler literally worked for Operation Rainfall. He is one of the reasons we even have the Xenoblade series. So thank you, Tyler.
You say that as if I wasn't the person that interviewed Tyler when he was at Operation Rainfall for his when he asked to join RPG Fan many years ago.
You guys, stop it. Stop it.
We're picking on
Please.
Tyler
It's
too
amazing.
much. We're picking on Tyler too much. I'm sorry, my guy.
I love it, Tyler. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
You help bring me so many games I love. So my history with the Xeno series starts from the very beginning. I played Xenogears right when it came out. I was very young and I was very not understanding things that were happening in that game. And I liked it a lot, but I dropped 75 hours into a game that I didn't really understand. And then when Xenosaga came out, my experience in the word of mouth was like, this is like cutscene, the game, which honestly, I think is the truth so far. It's totally the truth. And then I finally picked up Xenoblade in 2017, and I've played 1, 2, and 3. I played a little bit of Cross, and I am a huge Xeno fan. I love what Takahashi does. I love what Takahashi stands for in terms of what he's interested in game design. You can see him playing with some of the ideas of game design for Xenoblade here. They don't work nearly as well. but I dig the Xeno series.
Cool. Now, Peter, same question. How far back do you go with the Xeno games, maybe Xenosaga in particular?
Yeah, so I mean, I also was really into Xenogears, although I wasn't playing it back on the PlayStation. I didn't play it until it was a classic available for download on the PlayStation 3. But I did really enjoy the game. I'm one of those weirdos who thinks the second disc is the better part of the game because you don't have to play it as much. Yeah, kindred spirits, baby. But
It's
I
all
like
right. I'll bring balance back to the universe when it's my turn. Go ahead.
Yeah, fair enough. But I really liked that game a lot. I liked the ideas it played with. I love its very ethereal. I love its musical score, especially. Even though I don't think it looks or plays the best, it was a very ambitious game for its time. And you could definitely see that Takahashi had big ideas. I didn't play the Xenosaga games until after the first Xenoblade had came out. I really enjoyed that game. Went back to try the PS2 games that I missed out on. Got about 20 hours into this game and didn't like it, and so I bounced off it. But this was about 10 years ago. So I'm coming back to this now with a fresh, open mind. I have the whole trilogy available to me, and I do intend to at least play Xenosaga 3 at some point because I've heard that is the good one. And yeah, I'm enjoying this playthrough quite a bit.
Interesting. Well, I've heard similar to you, Peter. I've heard that 1 and 3 are the good ones, and 2 is the one that's maybe better experienced as reading a wiki article instead. It's the chain of memories of the Xenosaga games, maybe.
Yeah, it's like if there was a manga of Jen sitzt von Gut und Boss, I apologize to any German listeners, then I would probably read that instead of playing the game.
Well, let's just say it's probably not the best video game called Beyond Good and Evil, but
there we go.
But yeah. So I knew Xenosaga by reputation. This is my first time playing Xenosaga Episode 1, but I've owned Xenosagas 1 and 2 for several years now, at least since the mid-2000s. I don't know exactly when I first got my grubby hands on them. But earlier than that, in probably around the 01-02 range, when I was trying to play all of the PS1 RPGs I could get my grubby hands on, I did play Xenogears. And I really, really liked it about 70% of the way through, but I just really fell off a cliff partway through disc 2. Like I did not like the change in narrative tone and design because I liked the goofy, weird martial arts combos from the on foot fighting in the beginning of Xenogears, it felt almost exhausting for the idea to go back to it when we did Xenogears episodes of Retro Encounter in 2016, which is why I didn't volunteer to be on those episodes. But so I have mixed feelings about Xenogears, which is a game I have not finished, and was never really sure what to make of Xenosaga when they were popular and spoken of well in RPG circles, like the RPG fan forums. So I collected the first two, but never played them. But then when Xenoblade was getting hot in the 2010s, I played the first one on the Wii and really, really liked it. That's Xenoblade Chronicles the First is the only Xeno game I have played through all the way to the end. So I do enjoy Xeno at least a little bit. I'm a Xeno appreciator, but not really a fan because I mean I only had the stamina and interest level to finish one of them. But I have been Xeno curious for many years. And this podcast was exactly the right time to play Xenosaga Episode 1. It's been like a finalist or on our ideas board for a couple of years now, for I don't know exactly how long, but quite a while. But now was the exact time and place to do it. And we're sort of doing this as it's not an official Retro Encounter themed month like Mass Effect last month, or we did a Zelda month of 2018, Persona months twice. But we're not quite doing that for Xenosaga. But by coincidence, we do have an episode from a few weeks ago on Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which Zach and Tyler, both of you were on.
Yeah,
indeed, great game.
And I think we're doing another Xeno adjacent episode in early 2023. So please look forward to that. But so we're in a bit. This is not a Xeno month, but we're in a bit of a Xeno zone right now in December of 2022. But now Xenosaga Episode 1, Der Wille zur Macht. It starts on an excavation in Kenya where they discover a huge golden monolith of sorts called a Zohar. And it's really clear to me exactly what a Zohar is, except that it's a huge source of energy. And from that discovery in the year 20XX, not Mega Man 20XX, this is Xeno 20XX, from that discovery, all of the technology that humankind derived from this power source led to a science fiction future where of faster than light travel and colonization around the galaxy. So where we are now, thousands of years after the discovery of the first Zohar, humanity is spread across many different planets. There are huge advances in AI with multiple different types of robot or synthetic life forms. Part of the culture here. There's an alien race called the Gnosis, or is it Gnosis or just Gnosis?
Gnosis.
Okay, so silent G, got it. So an alien race called Gnosis that is trying to seek that same Zohar power source, and you start out on a ship called the Woglinda, maybe it's Voglinda, and that's transporting one of these Zohar. And the main character, Shianuzuki, is a scientist who works with androids and realiens, which is a form of synthetic human, and other AI. And she's in charge of a battle android program in a company called Vector Industries, or maybe just Vector, where she is the designer and curator of a powerful battle android called KOS-MOS, who is a specialized warrior android to fight the Gnosis. So that's the beginning, and it's a lot at the beginning. Like I was a lot
at the beginning.
I was pretty lost when I was getting terms like Gnosis and Zohar. And oh boy,
I'm like 15 hours deep, and I'm pretty lost.
And I think UTIC, and there's a Galactic Federation, and the military and the Vector are working together, but they are not the same. And I was a little bit lost. I was talking to a lot of people on the Woglinda, just trying to figure things out, and was not 100% there by the end of the events on the Woglinda.
It's immediately like kind of a harder sci-fi setting than what we were getting from Xenogears, which was kind of like a little more medieval-ish, even though it had a lot of sci-fi elements. This is like, nope, far-flung future. We're dealing with very Star Trek-y levels of technobabble, and kind of a much more. It's very high concept, but it is definitely a lot to throw at the player right out of the gate.
Yeah, I think we said this a little bit before we started recording, but Star Ocean is a sci-fi series that's all on the ground, and Xenosaga feels like a sci-fi series that's 0% on the ground. You are in spaceships dealing with alien incursions and a lot of science fiction made-up language from the get-go.
I will say this for if we're comparing it to Star Ocean, I wish Star Ocean was more like Xenosaga, because at least Xenosaga knows what genre it is. I like the space opera-y tone that the game sets for itself. It does feel very grand in scope, even if like you do have to kind of get into the minutia of it a lot. A lot of that technology is just kind of don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, as a new player, I feel like as I'm going through it, like I feel that there is something else to be discovered here. Like, and I know some of the characters, maybe from, I don't know, the Bible, that show up later. That show up later, but like I appreciate that, like it gives us this like strange opening, and it feels a little Xenogears in that way, right? Like you can definitely tell that the opening sequence is made by the same person who made Xenogears. And I appreciate that because I remember the opening to Xenogears because I tried to replay that game recently and I was like, oh no, I can't deal with this camera. But like, I feel like it does a good job of laying the scene for like a situation that I'm interested in learning more about.
Yeah, there's this air of mystery that you want to see what happens from that.
Yeah, they start very broad, and they communicate a world or a setting that has thousands of years of history and takes place all across the galaxy. And there's multiple factions and personalities clashing here that creates intrigue immediately. but I mean, I'm not saying it's underexplained or overexplained. I just felt I felt like I had sort of jumped into the pool head first, and the water was a little cold.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
even 10 hours in, and not to get ahead of ourselves, like I feel like it is clearly still like ground setting. Like I'm like, all right, who are these people? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they okay? I don't know. Like, who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? I know this is Takahashi, so the answer is none of them. But I think it's interesting for that reason.
But anyway, episode 1, I think in general, the game, I guess to both its benefit and detracts from it, is all about setting up everything. So it, as you guys will go into, it's very slow and throws a lot of things in there. So it's all about getting started, which it's good and bad.
It does kind of have like extended prologue vibes for a lot of it.
I'm engaged by the prologue, so that's something.
And I feel like this, and we might get into this a little later, just talking about, I think Tyler would know more about this than me, but weren't they planning on making this 6 games at one point?
Yes, it was originally planned to be a 6-game series, but then
3 arcs.
Yeah, but then some combination of budget constraints and time constraints had them stop at 3. But I think they did close some of the loops that they planned to close in that 3rd game, right, Tyler? Without going too hard into spoilers.
Correct. Like it was going to be like 3 different story arcs, and this the at least the first story arc is complete.
Right, but I mean, just playing the opening missions on the Woglinda, you can feel the influences here. Like these people have definitely seen Legend of the Galactic Heroes and a lot of Gundam and Macross, because there are humanoid fighter mechs called is it eggs or
Eggs. It's kind of like eggs. It's
I thought. Yeah, it's AGWS, but I thought maybe it was like a bad translation of Aegis or Aegis.
Oh no, it stands for Anti-Gnosis Weapon System.
Yeah, but I just thought that was a strange choice of pronunciation for
that's true
for AGWS. But
it's true.
And there's obvious influences of your Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica and 2001: A Space Odyssey, scenes like going onto the bridge to meet the captain for the first time, and the camera pans up to an open glass ceiling and sort of front of the ship to a sea of stars, and there's a little bit of Star Wars in the first space battle against the Gnosis.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But in the opening chapters, or the opening chapter singular, I wasn't sure what this game was going to be about, because we have Shion, the scientist main character. She's overworked and she cares a lot about getting her battle android project live, because there was an incident 2 years earlier where they rushed the project and failed, and some people lost their lives. So she's concentrating on doing it safely and correctly, but she's pushing herself a little bit. There's these other AIs or synthetic humanoids on the ship called Realians that are used as infantry, because they're considered less than human, so they can be sort of battle fodder. But they also mentioned how there was intergalactic law about the fair treatment of Realians, and how they have the rights similar to humans, but cyborgs or ex-humans do not have those rights. And then they talk about the Gnosis threat. These like almost Cthulhu mythos aliens that can phase through matter and don't fall to conventional weaponry, attacking the ship. And there's a lot of fear about the Gnosis. And then there's a secret society that maybe has feelers within the government, called is it UTEC or UTIC?
UTIC. Mm-hmm.
Called UTIC. That is trying to get the Zohar power source for themselves, and is a secret society that has a lot of shadowy goings on. Like I didn't know which of those things was the main conflict of the game, because they just throw so many ideas and struggles at you from the get-go. I'm like, okay, this is just a lot. It's cool, but it's a lot, and I'm not sure what part of the story they want me to focus on right now. But here's a Gnosis attack, so I guess we'll start with that.
We'll start with the Gnosis.
You know what's interesting, and as you're talking about that, like I can see some of the influences like in the presses of what Takahashi wants to do later, because like I feel like and this gets into some of the side quests and like the gameplay elements, like the way you discover all of that is like just by like walking around a ship, and the entire ship looks exactly the same. One room looks the same as the next, looks the same as the next, and there's no music for the most part, which, you know, yay.
A lot of the sound of footsteps on metal.
This is a big sticking point of the game for me, is that it's very strange to me that they went to the trouble of getting Yasunori Mitsuda back to do the score for this game, again, to create continuity with Xenogears, and that he has access to the London Philharmonic Orchestra. And when there is music in the game, it's really good, but it's used very sparsely. Like they go for a lot of deliberate ambient noise a lot of the time. So in a lot of the environments, most of what you're getting, there's no like background music or environment music. It's always footsteps and the sounds of humming machinery or clanking iron. And it's like, I see what you're going for. I just don't know if I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to that idea of like video games as art, like in like a pure sense. Like I understand that you're trying to get this idea, like we're in space, right? Like, we're in space and there's nothing else around and like there's no sound. But like I'm playing the video game and I've played it for a long time, and like it's not very pleasant to walk around this very samey looking ship. And the game encourages you to walk around. Like if you're not walking around, you're not getting the emails that you need. You're not interacting with the environments that you need. And the game wants you to explore, but it makes exploration very unpleasant, which is very different from Xenoblade, where exploration is incredibly pleasant, right? The music is phenomenal. The environments are phenomenal. So you can see, I think, like the seeds of what Takahashi wants to become. But it's not really there yet.
The game really wants you to take 2 giant laps around the Woglinda. It wants you to do it once while it's safe, to find all the little interactable things, talk to all the NPCs, and then when the Gnosis attack, you're like, oh, now I know to shut these barricades. Now I know to open this airlock. Now I know to run around this corridor and kind of juke them around it a bit. 2
of the Marines challenge Xion to a game of tag, and that teaches you how to sort of avoid the aliens when they're chasing you after the Gnosis attack.
Yeah, it's like, this mini game is annoying. Why are they making me do this? And then like literally like 10 minutes later,
now, which is funny because that's kind of like an interesting way to like teach the players certain things. But then there's all these other mechanics in the game that are like not explained at all.
You mean like every element of the combat?
Yeah, dude. Okay.
Tech points, skill points.
It gives you a extremely basic overview of how the combat system works during the tutorial section at the beginning. But all the details are hidden away in your emails, and even then, they don't really do a great job of explaining. Oh yeah, you need to be upgrading your techs.
When GameFAQs has to be the one to tell me to put your points into ether defense, I'm like, oh no, this is not good.
You get tech points to upgrade your individual stats, skill points to upgrade your skills. You can only equip skills to a hotbar meter if you change them from lightweight to high speed, I think is what they're supposed to be like.
It's like low speed to high speed. Yeah.
There's a boost meter that I completely forgot about an hour after they first taught me about it. There's a combo system where you switch between ether attacks and physical attacks, but also ether spells that use your EP, and some weapons you have bullets. Some weapons use your EP, which is basically your MP instead of bullets. There's and some characters can pilot a mech called an eggs, like we mentioned earlier, and they have their own upgrade system that's a little bit complicated. So there's a lot of weird details going into the combat. But I felt like, I haven't done a ton of combat encounters so far. I saved right after the Siggy Momo rescue mission, but I feel like I haven't needed to touch like 2/3 of it. But the combat and the gameplay is a little underexplained, but they're trying to do smart things like give you a reference manual in game through these emails and trying to teach you basics of what's happening later in the Woglinda by when you first explore the Woglinda. so like there's good ideas here, but the execution is sometimes a little strange, and part of it is that this is a 2001 or 2002 PS2 game, so it's a little bit clumsy. Like the polygons are smoother than PS1 era polygons, but everything sort of, because of the way it's rendered, it sort of feels like you're playing in slow motion sometimes, and I mean, maybe that's just my experience. But so this game has big ideas, really wants to hit a couple like sci-fi zeniths, but because it's a little clumsy and feels a little overcomplicated in some places, it's not hitting everything I want like a great RPG to hit in the opening hours. But I don't mean this as a total negative, because the plot stuff it's setting up and the world it's setting up is really fascinating. I think I've played better PS2 RPGs like this. Is that am I being a little bit too rude?
No, I mean,
No,
I think
no,
you're totally
fair.
I think it's a fair point. I mean, this game, I think personally, I think it looks really good for the time, or at least as far as the 2001 RPG goes. If I was going to sandwich this between Final Fantasy X and Shadow Hearts, I think Xenosaga would be leaning a little closer to the Final Fantasy X side of things. You can see the budget.
I mean, I think this game is good and looks fine, but it doesn't look as good as a Final Fantasy X, which is
no. It's still like we're still not working with like a flagship SquareSoft budget. But as far as like the way the game plays and the way the game is structured, I think it is very slow paced. I do think the combat does a pretty bad job of explaining itself. And even then, I think most battles, at least until early on, take a little too long.
Wait until you get to episode 2.
I have no intention. I may end up just watching the cutscenes from 2. But I mean, even if I remember from the end of this game, I was like, oh yeah, right. These combat encounters all take 5 minutes or more, and the enemies keep respawning every time I exit a new area. I
probably should have said this earlier. I say this with affection and with frustration. This game is early PS2 as hell. Like it really like from the look and how things render to how it's it does not look as good or play as smoothly as late PS2 RPGs. But like this game is good, but it's very early PS2, and there's even just. I'm slightly annoyed that circle is select and X is cancel because I've been programmed for the opposite over the ensuing decades of playing
that trips me up every so often.
Yeah,
definitely.
But I mean, I like all these conflicts it's set up. I mean, let's talk about the main characters a little bit. Xion is portrayed right from the beginning as a little bit clumsy, a little bit overworked, but definitely brilliant because she's the head of this huge R&D division. And I just feel the compassion in her character because like when she clashes a little bit with a Marine named Virgil, and he sort of treats the Realians, synthetic humans, as subhuman, while Xion is extremely empathetic towards them and is helping them with regular maintenance and calibrations and stuff. And she you can feel that she that she like feels for the AIs that are part of her career, and she's working on this battle android project, but yeah, like there's different attitudes about AIs in this game, and Xion comes from a very, very empathetic viewpoint of them.
She's also pragmatic because she also has a healthy amount of respect and fear for KOS-MOS's capabilities.
She is a very empathetic character that, like, even though has a lot, she thinks about others before herself a lot of times, a lot to her detriment, because there's several times like where she's seeing like that mysterious little girl, and it's like she just, whenever someone asks her if she's okay, she's like, yeah, I'm okay, but she internalizes so much, and it's I love Xion. She's great. She
sees visions of a golden young girl that it appears that she's the only person that can see it, and the girl looks like a younger version of Xion to me, but that could be wrong, could be off. Maybe it's supposed to be Ellie from Xenogears for all I know. But like there's stuff going on with Xion that is not clear to us yet, but she comes across as brilliant but clumsy, definitely empathetic. but and not as entire and pragmatic, but not as like rigidly pragmatic as KOS-MOS, for example. And let's go into KOS-MOS next, I guess. KOS-MOS is the battle android that is the project that Shion's team is working on. Early on in the game, after Shion, does a lap around the ship and talks to a bunch of people, KOS-MOS awakens on her own accord, and that sends an emergency signal out through the ship. But then shortly after that, there's a second emergency signal about a Gnosis attack, which suggests that KOS-MOS awakened because she could sense the impending Gnosis. And so these horrible aliens attack. A bunch of the crew members that you were just interacting with earlier are horribly murdered. It's more than a little bit grisly.
Oh God, it's grim.
But then
it's very grim.
But then you have a very cool introduction scene where KOS-MOS like spins in like a figure skater covered in guns, and just absolutely murks a bunch of the Gnosis aliens.
It's a very good fight. It's a very good action sequence. It's well choreographed. It feels well filmed almost.
Yeah, no, there's zero player control in it. It is a straight up cutscene, but it's an exciting, beautifully filmed one that really communicates KOS-MOS as this super powerful, elegant robot that might be your only hope against the Gnosis. Because the Gnosis are completely immune to the bullets and other weapons of the crew. So KOS-MOS has also become a bit of a mascot for Xenosaga and maybe even Monolith Soft in general in the ensuing 20 years. So what do we think about this lady?
So many figures.
So many figures. I love her, honest to God. I think, like, qualms with this game aside, like, KOS-MOS is an immediately iconic design, and there's a reason that, like, she keeps showing up as, like, a mascot or in other Monolith Soft games or other tangentially related products like Project Cross Wars. Like KOS-MOS is awesome.
Monolith Soft was a developer on this, but it was published by Bandai Namco, and I've seen KOS-MOS stuff pop up in Tales of games before. Like she's she's a popular, enduring character.
Yeah, and I think there's a good reason for that, because not only is she like a really cool design, but like she does have that kind of like calm, cool, and collected robot badass personality thing going, and it's just really fun.
And just replaying this game, I also. Like, there's times where she's a bit sassy, and it's like, I mean, she's not intentionally being sassy, but it's just the way her, like, deadpan nature is. It's just great.
I was going to say, like, they also do a good job of communicating that she's powerful. Like, whether it's through, like, the emails or, like, we're going to allow her to have this weapon or this weapon. And some of this happens maybe a little bit after where some of you are, but, like, even when she is considered to be like quote unquote less powerful than she needs to be, like she says like, I'll work at 30% capacity. She's still doing like twice as much damage as other characters are.
Or when she's like doing dishes, like I need to control my power output just right.
And she's like, no, I'm good. I don't need your help either. KOS-MOS is amazing. I mean, like I think that she is, of all the characters that Monolith has created, she is the most iconic for a reason. And she's the most important blade to pull in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played the first few hours of Xenoblade 2, but that game has a sort of gacha-like system where blades or summons can be rare drops, and she's like the best rare drop, right?
Yeah,
yes,
or close to it.
She's not necessarily the best blade, but she is the rarest drop. But she's the best blade, like that is easy to use.
She's the best blade to me.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're doing like min-maxing stuff, which that couldn't have been me. That wasn't me.
I think Scott spends an entire chunk of his stream trying to get her.
But towards the end of the all the scenes on the Voglinda, KOS-MOS kicks a bunch of ass. You managed to team up with is it Chernikov or Cherenkov?
Cherenkov, yeah.
Cherenkov, that's it. Cherenkov, the second in command of the ship, manages to teleport away the Zohar piece that the ship was carrying into a some kind of wormhole or warp drive. I don't know.
Okay. I don't mean to pause you there, but don't they say that it's like a replica Zohar at that point?
They say an emulator. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, like, I don't understand what's going on in this game, but like, I just want to make sure I'm clear on that.
They go into that a bit later than where we're at right now. So there's
they
like
refer
12...
to it as they refer to it as a Zohar emulator, and we know that Zohar are these incredible power sources, and the one that they're carrying was found in at an excavation site. So it's maybe not like a true Zohar like the one that was found in Kenya, but it's a very powerful thing, though.
It's basically a copy of that original Zohar.
Okay,
and there are multiple copies or emulators.
But still, it's powerful, and the Gnosis want it.
Exactly.
Trying to go back to something you touched on just for a second, Tyler. You did mention that there's 12 of them plus the original.
Let's see. I believe so, which makes 13.
So it's 13. It's 13 shards of the original source. I see. Interesting.
I was going to say it's Jesus Christ and his apostles.
Oh well, no, I was talking about Final Fantasy 14, but
they each have names, so you could probably guess what some 13. Of their names are.
Yeah, I remember that part.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the Bible loves 12s. I mean, the 12 birthstones are mentioned in the Bible, and there are the apostles. It's I would not be shocked if there is more Judeo-Christian symbolism than I even originally anticipated in this game. But towards the end of this segment on the Voglinda, KOS-MOS makes a tactical decision that some of the attacking Gnosis are sort of obstructed by Virgil, who's a sort of a Marine that you team up with briefly. He's the sort of the racist anti-Realian character, and she decides to just shoot directly through him to stop a Gnosis that's about to attack your group, and basically slaughtering him, which is the opposite of how the Marines were shooting earlier, because like Xion accidentally steps into a bunch of gunfire and emerges unscathed, which I'm still confused about. But yeah, Xion is horrified that KOS-MOS sacrificed a Marine that had fought alongside them for her mission. And I think this is the first of many contrasts of this game, of the different types of characters we're dealing with. And when I say types of characters, I mean both in personality and in literally what they are in the fiction. Because Xion is a human who's deeply empathetic towards all life forms. KOS-MOS is an android who has programming and AI to simulate emotions and other things. But she says that, our mission success raised by several percentage points by sacrificing Virgil, and that's horrifying to Xion, but very normal seeming to KOS-MOS. And when they and both right after it happens and when they briefly separate and reunite on another ship called the Elsa, because spoiler, the Wogland is not very long for this world, that argument sort of continues. So you have the ultra pragmatic android KOS-MOS, the ultra empathetic human Xion, and introducing the next group a little bit, the former human turned cyborg Ziggy, who seems to resent his old human memories and wants them to be excised from his robot body after he completes his mission, and Momo, who's a Realian, but a synthetic human, but in the form of a young girl who has secret intel embedded into her brain, and that makes her a wanted person by the villains of this game, Utic. Mm-hmm. So like those are 4 different kinds of life forms with different relationships with their own humanity in a way. So I haven't gotten a lot out of these characters yet. I mean, Momo seems like a sweet little girl, which makes me instantly dislike her, because we know that I do not love children characters in RPGs.
Don't worry, there's some trauma incoming. But
okay, if she's very sad, maybe I'll feel better about her.
Woo, boy.
But in general, I want either teams that are only kids or only teenagers and older. Don't give me a team of grown-ups with one token kid. I never like that. Never.
I am a big fan of Ziggy, though. Not just because he's voiced by my boy Richard Epcar. So it's Ansem. I really enjoy his backstory. Is so dark.
It is dark.
Like this dude signed up to be an organ donor. Bad stuff happened to him. He tried to unalive himself, and then his body was. They were like, "Nope, we're gonna bring you back to life against your will, and now you're a robot super soldier forever. Have fun.
Yeah, it's sort of like KOS-MOS and Ziggy are two halves of the RoboCop storyline. Actually, because like Ziggy has these former memories as a human and sort of wants to put it behind him, while KOS-MOS is a robot sort of getting more in touch with her humanity, and she's also bound by the will of her prime directive, which it comes into like I forget the name of the evil corporation in RoboCop, but her relationship with Vector is kind of like RoboCop's relationship with the company there. So it's again, but those four characters, you know what, we're gonna add two more characters to the mix. There's Chaos and Junior, who are the next two that get introduced. Chaos is a very cheerful young boy who has the power to like Photoshop erase Gnosis by touch.
It's just something he can do.
Yeah, and his explanation is, well, some people are good at math, and some people are good at writing, and some people can erase evil aliens for unexplained reasons. And Xion accepts that with startling ease, I thought.
I was gonna say, I just like that everyone accepts that this dude's name is Chaos, and his name is spelled with all lowercase letters, and no one bats an eye. They're just like, yeah. That's our boy Chaos. It's
supposed to contrast KOS-MOS's name, which is in all caps.
Yeah, Chaos and KOS-MOS. Is there another robot later named Erebos or Nyx? Or is that a little bit too?
I don't know. Telos.
There is Telos.
Yeah. So basically, we're this game does eventually become Persona 3. Got it.
This game was first.
I think it eventually becomes Persona 3.
Atlas was been eating Monolith Soft's lunch.
But Persona had alien invasions before Xenosaga existed.
That's true.
Fair.
Yeah, I haven't quite met Junior yet, but he's another form of synthetic human, correct?
Yes, he is a URTV.
Which is sort of like a re-alien, but not the same? I've barely met him, so
I've met him and I don't know what that means, so I like it.
Okay, so URTV is different from a UTIC, which is different from an AGWP, which is different from a UMW, which is which is Unus, which is Unus. Is it called like is that the Unus Mundus network? But not UMN. But the Mundus in this is different from the Mundus in Devil May Cry, and the Virgil in this is different from the Virgil in Devil May Cry. And there's 6 main characters that are all different versions of human or robot.
There's smoke coming out of your ears.
Yeah, this game.
I think Sollosi is also a KOS-MOS.
I'm starting to wonder if the 7th character is going to be a Cylon or something, because this game is just a capital A lot that they hit you with at once. And Peter was talking about gushing over voice actors. We got my boy Crispin Freeman voicing one of the villains.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, his performance as Albedo is just fantastic.
I have heard, I think, one Albedo line so far. It was about 10 minutes before I hit the save point where I previous stopped. And I'm like, oh, I know who that is. This is going to be good.
Albedo, we won't get into him. We'll get into him more in the next episode. But Albedo is a legitimately terrifying villain. I appreciate him so
albedo
much.
Is a term meaning reflectivity of a planet's atmosphere. Venus has a very high albedo, and Mars has a very low albedo. And that is what a minor in astronomy will get you about 17 years after the fact. 13 years after the fact. I'm not. Whoops. College wasn't that long ago. but yeah, I mean, this is sort of early PS2 voice acting, so it's not exactly the same cast of characters you're used to seeing in anime of the 2000s, but there are some familiar faces in the voice cast, and it's fun, getting your neurons firing with recognition for some of them. For me, Crispin Freeman jumps out though.
He does, definitely, and I think the voice performances are generally pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, for the time, definitely.
Yeah. You have some clunkers here and there, but for the most part, it sounds like...
I actually feel like Xion's is like one of the weaker voice performances
really?
At this point. Yeah. She seems like so over-the-top earnest all the time that I'm like,
I think I like her delivery of her dialogue, but it's just, I think it's more to do with the way she's written. I also find it annoying that she's introduced with a shot of her butt, but that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, I mean, there's some male gaze in the camera here. Not even in the top 10 worst versions of that though.
Yeah, I mean, Chaos literally like spends like 10 minutes like watching KOS-MOS before we really get to know him. So there you go.
And when they're right before that, we have the scene where they're all eating dinner, and Xion makes them all dinner, and they're all talking about, "Oh, we never have.
We need a woman
bunch
on
of
this
bros.
ship.
We're all a bunch of bros. We can't cook." And I'm just over here like,
I struggle with that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Shirtless pilot guy wastes no time at all hitting on Xion and gazing longingly at KOS-MOS.
By the way, I just realized we made it through this entire podcast without mentioning Ellen at all.
Oh,
and
Ellen?
I think that's extremely appropriate.
Which is such an
incredibly
Ellen
appropriate.
thing. Yeah.
Because Ellen is the ultimate cuck.
He even spells his name in the most boring version of the word Alan. It's like he's the second in command of Xion's division. He obviously has a crush on her. Xion is oblivious, and he's pretty vanilla. I'm not annoyed deeply by Alan, but he's kind of a nothing character compared to your 6 playable characters who are all way more interesting.
I like how he was the only one who didn't buy Chaos's explanation about his powers.
Yeah,
he's like the normal person in the group.
He's the audience.
Yeah, he's the Xander and Buffy of this. He's the he's like the sarcastic voice of semi-reason chiming in that no one's going to listen to. But or at least from my limited experience, that's what Alan seems like. And we've covered most of what I've played so far in the game. There's a lot of cutaways to shadow organizations talking about what's going on in the background. Everyone seems to want this Zohar piece or Zohar emulator. The Gnosis are a bit of a faceless threat. We haven't even heard any of them speak. We know what some of their monsters and spaceships look like, but nothing about their motivations or goals other than that they want that Zohar piece. And I'm still not sure if like UTIC is totally separate from the Federation and Vector, or if UTIC has like moles in the government and Vector, or or they're sort of all three of those are a Venn diagram. I don't know. There's a lot of mystery in play still here.
Without getting into specifics, because I do know a little bit about what happens later. I know for sure Tyler does, but I'm pretty sure that like the guy in charge of Vector, who we see very briefly, his name is Wilhelm.
Oh,
No, Wilhelm is the CEO or whatever of the Vector Corporation. He's like the little white-haired dude who's like talking into a monitor, like all mysterious, like about how, we need to like move the plan forward, blah blah blah. And it's like, and this is the point where I said to myself, God, this wants to be Evangelion so bad. Like this is Gendo and Sele.
I was mixing up UTIC and Vector briefly because Margulis I thought he was an officer in the Federation because he was giving orders to Cherenkov, but then it looks like he's actually part of the leadership of UTIC, the resurgent / terrorist organization.
I think Cherenkov actually works for UTIC, but he pretends like he works for the
He's like a mole.
Yeah.
Okay, so Margulis is all UTIC. Cherenkov is
also,
a
can we
UTIC
talk about
mole.
the Margulis fight?
Oh my god, that fight was so hard.
I refused to lose it, but like it took me about an hour to win.
It took me 30 minutes, give or take, and that was because I found the speed stem earlier on. So you just give that to Ziggy and have him go nuts. But it is a very hard fight. You have to make sure that Momo is healing him every turn.
Yes, no, he has to stand in. They even explain that Ziggy can cover Momo if she stands directly behind him, which is the first time they hardly mentioned positioning at all in this game. Again, underexplained battle mechanics is part of this game's lifeblood, I guess. So you really need to have Momo directly behind Ziggy, healing him with probably 3/4 of her moves.
And you don't really need to. I also find it annoying that none of Momo's attacks do anything at that stage of the game, but whatever. But it's you don't need to win that fight. I'm pretty sure. I think we all just did it because we're stubborn. No, I don't think you have. I think it continues if you die.
Oh,
I don't know. It took me a while, but I did win that one.
I used
I think we all did, but I think the game expects you to just give up and die.
I used so many items.
At least items are fairly cheap in this game, and I responded to one email that allowed me to invest in one of the item shops, and then that gave me a permanent 10% discount. So I was like, all right, I guess I have to try and get every damn email now.
Did you see
you get a good equipment too?
I know. I remember there was one email where you could invest in a company called Tesla.
Tesla, I mean, I would have different feelings about investing in Tesla in 2001 versus 2022, let's say.
Can we talk about how one of the emails you get is literally an ad for like a Namco band,
I found two of them.
Machine.
I also got an email from a Tekken character. So
my god, that is the best. That is the best one because
I haven't gotten to that one yet, but I'm a big Tekken fan. Who sends the email?
Kazuya.
Oh, okay.
It's because it's funny because most of those those emails are just basically ads for games, but that one is actually written from Kazuya's like perspective.
Yeah, from is it like from the Mishima Zaibatsu and inviting you to the King of the Iron Fist tournament or something?
Well, he's talking to Shion's like just talking about like his latest match, and then
he's bragging about a victory.
Yeah, and then he's like, hopefully my son Jin will be able to put up a good fight. It's just like
I think. Oh boy, if my Tekken lore is correct, I think Kazuya steals the Mishima Corporation or Zaibatsu from Heihachi around the Tekken 3 or 4 range, and then Jin does the same to Kazuya in between Tekken 6 and 7.
Yes.
So that's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy there, Kazuya. But Tekken's part of the lore of Tekken is the best martial artist gets to inherit the largest financial institution in the world, which is already crazy. But I don't know if it's that much crazier than me trying to remember like the names of 5 different types of humanoid AI life forms. Because what did you say that Junior was again? A UHF?
URTV.
URTV. Got it. UHF is the Weird Al Yankovic movie about a TV station.
I was gonna say I'm fairly certain I'm playing this game on a URTV. No, wait, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, all right. There's a lot to talk about here, and I'm worried if we're getting near the end of the episode if I'm talking about the 1990s Weird Al Yankovic movie, but with a young Michael Richards in it. But Zach, you and I are both playing this for the first time. We're both in the 7 to 10 hours in range, I think. What's one guess or one assumption that you have for something that's going to happen later that you're curious about or looking forward to?
That's a tough question. I'm going to be honest. Like I say this as a positive. I have no idea what's happening in this game. Like it is setting up like so many mysteries after mysteries after mysteries after mysteries. Like there's some like organization that is like trying to grab Momo. They don't really seem entirely good to me. They seem to have some relationship to Utic.
I think that is Utic, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Because the scientist that created Momo was one of the co-founders of Utic.
Right, but I think his wife or
something.
I have no idea.
His ex-wife, yeah.
Yeah, his ex-wife is trying to rescue Momo from Utic, and she's the one that sends Ziggy after them.
Right, so she's the one who's trying to grab him back, and it seems like she works for the government, but the government doesn't seem great either. My guess is that like everybody sucks except for like the 6 characters who we're gonna like. That's my guess.
I think that like I don't trust Vector or the government or the terrorists at all. Like I don't. I mean I'm pretty sure that Albedo and Margulis are 2 major antagonists that don't do a character turn or something. So I'm pretty confident that Utic are bad guys, but I don't really trust anyone. Maybe even including Shion. Maybe Shion's being manipulated by this golden star child in her visions, for all I know. So like I am in a similar.
Shion has like a level of empathy that I can't buy as a negative person. I don't know.
I feel like she wants to bring out the best in everyone and wants all these different humanoid life forms to get along, and that's going to bite her in the ass at some point.
I mean, I think that's probably true, but I also think that at the end of the day, like she's going to be the protagonist.
Yes, like I think that Shion is basically a good character and a good person that we're supposed to empathize with as the heroine, but I also think that she's probably I feel like her actions are going to be manipulated somehow. Like
I
eventually
think it's fair.
eventually she's going to be doing the bad thing, and that was the enemy's plan all along. But I have no idea what the bad thing is going to be or who the enemy is.
I mean, I played Xenoblade 3 recently, and I know that Takahashi believes corporation's bad. So yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, again, like I was getting 2001: A Space Odyssey and Battlestar Galactica and RoboCop vibes, all at different points with different characters. The character I'm probably the most intrigued by, who we talked about a little bit already, is Ziggy. Like I think it's fascinating that this guy is haunted by memories of his past. He tried to commit suicide. He wants to have a peaceful death. But was resurrected as a robot against his will. He doesn't qualify as a full human or as a realien, so he doesn't have the same level of human rights that they do. And his wish is to complete this mission and then have his memories leave his body so he can be a mindless robot performing mercenary missions in blissful ignorance. Like that is weird and dark, and I like it, and I want to get more out of Ziggy.
For Ziggy's full story, check out the Japanese mobile phone game Xenosaga Pied Piper.
Great. Yep.
Heck yeah, let's go.
There's a fan translation. It's great. It's great.
Oh boy, that's a little bit too Marvel Cinematic Universe for me. I lost a lot of interest in the MCU when they started assigning me television shows as homework. But
no, same.
But I'm with Zach on this. Like this is a new experience for me, and I was anticipating it to be a lot of cutscenes and a lot of confusion, and it is that, but it's also really intriguing. So I'm excited to go forward with this, and I am going to really no life this one over the next week or so to try and have it finished by the next time we record. But I think that's about it for today's podcast. This was a very rambling, confusing introduction to Xenosaga Episode 1, Der Wille zur Macht, with Retro Encounter. I thank you so much, Tyler, for guiding us through the confusion here while trying not to reveal too much, because I could feel you trying to rein in your excitement like a levee trying to hold back a raging waterfall.
Yeah, it was really tough, but yeah, no problem.
But we're not done with Xenosaga yet. Next week is going to be part 2 of our journey through Xenosaga Episode 1, and but there's still going to be one more Thursday left in December after that. That's going to be our 2002 year in review episode. We have done a year in review here on Retro Encounter every year since 2015, and I'm not breaking the streak just because I found AI the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative a little disappointing. But
agreed.
It's not bad.
You can find my thoughts on rpgfan.com.
You can also find Zach's thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is a game that we discussed 2 weeks ago on Retro Encounter, hosted by rpgfan.com. But in the future of Retro Encounter, we already have January planned out. We're doing 2 episodes on Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, as well as 1 episode on Pokemon, speaking of disappointing recent games, and 1 episode on RPG Fan fashions, do's, and don'ts. So if you're interested in Pokemon, Ogre Battle, fashion, Xenosaga, Xenoblade, Muppets, then RPG Fan and its podcasts are here for you. And also we do have February picked out. I think we had Lost Odyssey win our public poll that was conducted last month. So I am 90% sure Lost Odyssey will be the game that we play in February for Retro Encounter, but that depends on people's schedules. It might get bumped back a little bit if things don't line up perfectly, but you can expect Ogre Battle 64 and Lost Odyssey in the near future.
I was literally playing Lost Odyssey when it won the poll, and I'm just like, do I just wait to finish this game now?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. All right, this is going to be a Xenosaga interruption and then back to Lost Odyssey conclusion. But
works for me.
Yeah, listeners, the best way to reach us on any of those topics is retro@rpgfan.com. rpgfan.com is in many different theaters of the internet, including that website itself, as well as pages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, YouTube, Twitch. We are RPG Fan or RPG Fancom on all of those different things. RPG Fan also has an online shop. rpgfan.com/shop is a store website that where you can get RPG Fan merch like coffee cups, apparel, phone cases, pins, and on a website hosted by tpublic.com. So if you want to support the website with your dollars, the best way to do so is to go onto rpgfan.com rpgfan.com/shop and buy something. And we're also one of only 3 podcasts that are hosted by rpgfan.com. There's Random Encounter every 2 weeks, mostly about randomness and recent RPGs, as well as Rhythm Encounter every other 2 weeks, mostly about rhythmness and RPG music. And you can review Retro Encounter or those other 2 podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or whatever podcast listening venue you choose. Surprisingly to me, Spotify is by a significant margin our largest audience. So hello, folks on Spotify. But if you want to leave us feedback, you can leave us feedback on whichever of those you like. But if you want to leave us feedback as individuals and not as a podcast or as a topic, let's tell them how to reach each other while Twitter maybe still exists? Question mark? Starting with you, Zach.
Well, you can't reach me on Twitter because I'm a teacher and my account is private, but you can email me, zachw@rpgfan.com, or you can find me on RPGFan's Discord at zachw.
So that's why all of my teacher friends have aliases on Facebook and Twitter.
That's a true story.
But now, same question to you, Peter.
You can find me at I Have Fury on Twitter, although, again, because of all the Elon Musk-related nonsense, I'm kind of taking a break right now, so I may not be very active for the near future. And I don't really have any other social media to share around, so just don't perceive me. Thank you.
All right. Now, Tyler, how can folks find you?
I'm at KOS-MOS Chaos on Twitter, which, Xenosaga reference.
A little bit on the nose.
Xenosaga?
A little on the nose. Yeah.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Tyler, you win the award for being the most on brand in this episode of Retro Encounter.
Well, thanks. I'll cherish that reward.
But come on, don't hold out on this. How can you find that Xeno podcast that you host?
Oh gosh. Well, you can find it on Spotify and all your other podcast platforms, YouTube. Our Twitter is XenoChat Podcast, and we're also on Instagram. So if you'd rather be there, we're XenoChat on there. Thank you.
Excellent. Now, personally, there are many places I would rather be than Twitter, but unfortunately, I am trapped there. You can find me on Twitter most of the time at The Real Monsoon, at other times at Evoker for Dogs, and on RPG Fans Discord, I am Monsoon Mike. So, yeah, boy, I'm not even sure what to make the final callback on this podcast. There's so much to talk about, and I still don't remember what the 4-letter designation of what Junior is. Is it was it URTV?
URTV.
Okay, URTV. We are done with this episode. Thank you. Good night and good luck.